My name is Katie, and I work for a nonprofit called Breathe California Sacramento Region. We go to schools across Sacramento to teach students like you about the benefits of recycling and reducing food waste. Did you know that you can take the leftover food on your plate and recycle it just like plastic and paper? It's true, and you can do it by turning things like dead leaves, apple cores, and food scraps into compost, aka a natural fertilizer for soil. And today we are digging deep into the dirt to learn about compost and how you can recycle your food waste at home and school. Let's get started. Before we can understand compost, we first have to understand soil health. Now, unless you spend a lot of time underground like earthworms or insects, you probably don't spend a lot of time thinking about dirt. But dirt is awesome and it is everywhere, and just about every living thing on earth depends on it, like the plants that grow in it, the animals that eat those plants, the animals that eat those animals, and then even the animals that eat those animals. And there's also us who depend on those plants and animals for food. The stuff that fills our flower pots and soccer fields may just be dirt to us, but scientists have a different name for it. They call the top layer that covers most of the land soil. And healthy soil is important. Soil is what provides a place for plants to grow, it holds water in place for their roots, and it contains nutrients that feed plants energy so they can flourish. In other words, soil is where plants get their food to grow. Without healthy soil, we wouldn't have an abundance of food to eat, like the crisp apple that you had for lunch. You might be wondering, how do we create healthy soil? Soil is a living and breathing system just like humans. It is full of living things like worms and insects, including super microscopic organisms that we cannot even see. Did you know a single teaspoon of soil holds over 1 million living organisms? These organisms work together as a community with the plants, exchanging nutrients in the soil. You probably already know this, but plants use sunlight for energy to grow. But did you know that 40% of that energy actually goes back into the soil? That energy feeds the organisms, and in return, the organisms generate energy to help protect plants from diseases and also feed the plants all the water and nutrients needed to grow. But sunlight isn't enough energy for plants. In addition to sunlight, plants also get their nutrients from soil that's already in the ground. But over time, these nutrients start to get used up. Think of it this way. You cannot just survive on water, can you? No. We also get our energy from food, like fresh fruits and vegetables. And well, the same goes for soil. Just like humans, soil needs food too. And that's where compost comes in. Compost is a nutrient-rich food that looks a lot like dark chocolate and smells like fresh dirt after a rainfall. When we mix it with soil, it releases its nutrients back into the ground and gives soil the energy it needs to keep growing plants. So what exactly is compost? Compost is a big pile of green organic matter, like food waste, that has been mixed with brown organic matter, like dead leaves or grass clippings. These ingredients together decompose or break down over time into extremely nutrient-rich compost, aka food for soil. When we compost our food waste and yard waste, we are recycling their nutrients back into the ground. It's Earth's natural way of recycling. And it might seem yucky to keep a pile of banana peels and dead leaves around, but eventually this waste turns into compost, which we can put back into our gardens and grow more food. Think of it as a cycle. We eat yummy fresh food for lunch, and the best thing to do is to eat as much as you can. But sometimes we create food waste from the food we can't eat. That food waste can then go into a compost pile, where the food waste will decompose and turn into compost. And that compost will go back into the ground to help grow food, so that we can have more food to eat. So how do we go from what we might consider trash to yummy vegetables? Have you ever been for a walk outside and seen a banana peel just laying in the grass? After a while, the banana peel will start to get brown, mushy, and kind of slimy looking, and then eventually it will just start to disappear. But it doesn't just go away. It decomposes. And when something decomposes, that means it's being broken down into teeny tiny pieces with help from living things called decomposers. Decomposers are bacteria, worms, fungi, and insects. Decomposers eat once living things as their own food. They basically eat our garbage. It might seem like a gross job, but it is an important one because those decomposers turn our leftovers into compost. And compost is full of nutrients that goes back into the soil to grow plants, which in turn gives us food to eat. Now let's learn about the two ways that we can create compost: home composting and commercial composting. Both methods use the same basic ingredients: decomposers and the right amount of green organic matter and brown organic matter, or food waste and yard waste. Let's learn about home composting first. Home composting means, you guessed it, that we can create compost in our own home. Many people use a big bin in their yard, but if you don't have a yard, you can use a small container such as a special compost bucket or even an empty soda bottle. If you are using a big bin, the bin can be made of metal, wood, or plastic, and it should have holes in it so that air can get in and out. Air is an important ingredient for making good compost. Just like humans, decomposers need air to breathe or they're munching on our leftovers. And now we need our waste. Remember, compost is made of green organic matter, like food waste, and brown organic matter, like yard waste. When you're composting at home, it's important to be extra careful about what leftover food items you put into the compost bin. The smell from meats, bones, and dairy, for example, can attract animals that might dig through the compost. So stick to fruit and vegetable scraps and yard waste in the compost bin. Here is a quick list of food items that can be composted at home: fruit and vegetable scraps, eggshells, coffee grounds, nuts, paper such as newspaper, houseplants, and yard waste like grass clippings and dead leaves. And again, make sure not to throw away anything smelly like meats, bones, dairy, liquids, or sauces. Now it's time to learn about commercial composting. You've probably heard the garbage truck driving around early in the morning, picking up our trash, where it is then sent away and we never really have to think about it again. Well, commercial composting is just like that. In some cities, garbage trucks pick up our food waste and send it to a compost facility that turns our food waste into compost for us. In fact, your school is doing just that. The next time you are at lunch, look for a green container next to the gray trash can at lunch. This green container is where you will throw away your food waste after you are done eating. That food will then be picked up by a garbage truck and sent to a compost facility to be composted. It's as easy as taking out the garbage. And the coolest part about commercial composting is that they can take all of our leftover food. The facilities are so big that they can handle more food waste than a single backyard, and they don't have to worry about smelly foods like meat, bones, and dairy. So when you return back to school, make sure to look for the green container next to the gray trash can at lunch so that you can help your school do its part in composting leftover food waste. We learned a lot of cool information today, so let's do a quick recap. Healthy soil is full of nutrients that give plants the energy they need to grow food for us and animals to eat. Over time, plants and living organisms in the soil eat up these nutrients to the point where there isn't any more to eat, and we can replenish the soil's nutrients by turning our leftover food waste and yard waste into compost with help from decomposers who eat our waste. Decomposers break down the nutrients in our waste that can go back into the soil and make energy that helps grow more plants and food. It's Earth's natural way of recycling. And just like we learned, we can recycle at home and by sending our food waste to a compost facility that composts our food waste for us. Thank you for watching and for digging into the dirt with me to learn about compost.